Well, it is the weekend, and of course, when the weekend happens, so does Michael Snyder as we go out to the left coast of the United States and find out what's happening with movies. Hello, Michael.
Hi, Alex, and I am a one-man happening here. It's time for some film reviews. Let's roll with it. Okay, let's start with Kingsman: The Golden Circle. Now, I'm a fan of spy movies and espionage films and James Bond and The Avengers and a few of those slyly witty, somewhat sophisticated romps from the 1960s that we've almost forgotten. So Kingsman: The Secret Service, based on a graphic novel about a super secret and noble British spy organization, was designed to appeal to me. It is, after all, like the offspring of an orgy thrown by Napoleon Solo and April Dancer from Uncle, and John Steed and Emma Peel from The Avengers. It's out of control, super fun. I'm having a great time at this film a few years back until the third act overkill almost loses me. Now, we have a sequel, Kingsman: The Golden Circle, which kicks off with a crazy, thrilling latter-day tech-assisted action scene that, as they say, is worth the price of admission. But as much as I adored the first movie in this apparent series, this sequel is way too much of a good thing, as you might guess from 2 hours plus in length. Taron Egerton is back as working-class British Kid Eggsy turned elegant super spy, codenamed Galahad. So is Mark Strong as his controller gadget expert sidekick Merlin, as well as, oh my God, spoiler alert, Colin Firth as the original Galahad, who was Eggsy's suave mentor from the first movie, but he met an untimely demise. So how is he back? That would be spoilers. In any event, Julianne Moore is the big villain here. Julianne Moore. And she plays a bizarre drug kingpin who is hiding out at a jungle fortress that looks like, I don't know, an American Graffiti theme park. She's sadistic, kind of a combination of Pablo Escobar and Martha Stewart, only like crazier. And she's such a threat that the Kingsman guys have to team up with their good old boy, cowpoke equivalent in the U.S., the Statesman, which is, I guess, just like the Kingsman, only with Channing Tatum as the muscle, Halle Berry as the tech expert, and the great Jeff Bridges as the boss man. The director is, again, Matthew Vaughn, who really, in my mind, has yet to stumble. He did Layer Cake, Stardust, Kick-Ass, X-Men First Class, and, of course, the first Kingsman. And I have to say that, this is a lot of fun, and I kind of enjoyed it, but to a point, at which I had my fill, and I kind of hope Vaughn will do something entirely different for his next movie. It's like the kind of stuff I love, but, did you ever have too much cake? That's what it's like watching Kingsman: The Golden Circle. Okay, moving right along, Battle of the Sexes. The core of Battle of the Sexes is the high-profile, controversial 1973 tennis match between Billie Jean King, the women's tennis champion at the height of her athletic skills, and Bobby Riggs, the former men's champ turned middle-aged hustler, huckster, and compulsive gambler. It's a mix of sports docudrama and comedy, and it stars Emma Stone and Steve Carell as the on-court rivals. It comes from the filmmaking team of Jonathan Dayton and Valerie Faris, who directed Little Miss Sunshine and Ruby Sparks, so I felt I was in good hands. And yes, this is funny and inspiring and full of heart as it addresses the feminist implications of the match and Billie Jean's crusade for women on the professional tennis tour to get paid equal to the men on the tour. And there's also plenty about King awakening to her sexuality. Emma Stone may be somewhat prettier than the real Billie Jean, but given that, she delivers what's probably her best acting performance to date. As for Carell, he's terrific. I mean, he really looks like Riggs and embodies the guy's ridiculously funny chauvinism. The rest of the cast is first-rate. Elizabeth Shue plays Riggs' long-suffering wife. Bill Pullman is a tennis promoter who wants to keep the ladies down financially. And by the way, Pullman has a couple scenes with our pal Tom Kenny, who plays his male chauvinist yes-man. Sarah Silverman is the plucky manager-agent type who teams with King and the other female players to start an independent women's tour. That's the one sponsored by Virginia Slims. Andrea Riseborough is the young hairdresser whose flirtation is instrumental in the married King embracing her true self And Alan Cumming is here as a gay tennis wear designer. I mean, and so on. Great cast, very entertaining movie, and one that's still extremely relevant in these reactionary times when so many dimwits and hateful power-mongering bastards are trying to reverse all the social advances of the past 50 years. And the tennis scenes are actually, they're exciting. So I would say Battle of the Sexes is a big thumbs up, and it's actually something you could watch at home on the HD screen in your house and not lose anything from it. But, you may want to support it at the theater. Now, the best film I saw in the past week or two is Stronger, a biographical drama about a good guy, working-class Bostonian named Jeff Bauman, a real guy who was I guess, the highest-profile victim of the 2013 Boston Marathon bombing. This is also about how that affected his family, especially his relationship with Erin Hurley, the woman in his life. The movie features 3 award-worthy performances. Jake Gyllenhaal, aided by movie magic as Bauman before and after his injuries. As Hurley, Tatiana Maslany, who's probably best known as the star of TV's Orphan Black, taking on her first female lead in a major motion picture since the show ended. And she's killing it here, by the way. And the mighty British actress Miranda Richardson, renowned for drama like The Crying Game and comedy like Blackadder, here is she's unrecognizable as Bauman's stout, hard-drinking Irish-American mom. It could have felt like a pandering retread of the tragedy and drama that spawned Patriots Day, the somewhat pedestrian and formula Mark Wahlberg drama, which was also inspired by the bombing. That movie from last year was meant to be about the investigation and capture of the terrorists, but it did have portrayals of the real people involved. But it's really more about its fictionalized lead. Stronger, on the other hand, is raw and real and focuses on the struggle of a genuine survivor who was horrifically damaged by the bombing. And also what he had to do in terms of dealing with medical issues, family matters, and this on-again, off-again romance with Hurley. The relationship was the reason Bauman found himself at ground zero. He shows up to root for Hurley, who's running in the marathon, and her response to his injuries and the guilt she feels because of what happened to him gives the movie some of its most powerful moments. Like I said, Gyllenhaal and Maslany are superb. Director David Gordon Green started out doing affecting indie dramas like George Washington and All the Real Girls, but moved on to comedies, including Pineapple Express. And he's been working on TV's Eastbound and Down. Here he displays a sensitive, non-schmaltzy touch on material that could have been very heavy-handed. It earns its emotional responses honestly. I mean, in fact, I give Stronger 3 tiers on the old Snyder cryometer. I mean, bring Kleenex because you're going to need it if you go to see Stronger. Okay, let's quickly zip through a few other things. Victoria and Abdul is director Stephen Frears. I guess it's a docudrama too. The guy who directed Florence Foster Jenkins' Philomena, the Queen. He's doing this movie about an unlikely friendship between Queen Victoria in her later years and a young Indian clerk who is in fact named Abdul. This features Eddie Izzard as her son Bertie, Prince of Wales, and a lot of other top British actors. And it's a true story, and it's a bizarre friendship, and I kind of enjoyed watching it. It's sort of masterpiece theater-y, Merchant Ivory-like, and of course, Judi Dench is always pretty wonderful. If you're interested in this kind of strange little quirky short story about a historical friendship, I think you might want to check this baby out. I enjoyed it. The clerk travels from India to help in the Jubilee for the Queen and then finds himself involved with her and maybe her closest confidant in her later years. Victoria and Abdul. Loving Vincent is a spectacularly beautiful Van Gogh docudrama with really innovative, fully oil-painted animation and a really good cast of actors who I guess are painted over rotoscope style. It's quite an achievement in visual spectacle. It takes inspiration from the artist's life and work. And I thought it would be difficult to do and to pull off without things looking messy, but they did make a beautiful piece of work here it's inspired by Van Gogh, and it definitely was mesmerizing. And it didn't hurt that the performers who are the actors in this, Douglas Booth, Jerome Flynn, Helen McCrory, Saoirse Ronan, and Chris O'Dowd are among them. They're all really good, and they kind of commit. And it looks like nothing I've seen before. Woodshock, I barely want to say anything about it. It's almost a vanity project. A couple of fashion designers, sisters, Kate and Laura Malevy, wrote and directed this kind of harrowing, dreamlike psychodrama about isolation and grief with Kirsten Dunst in the Pacific Northwest, playing a woman who falls deeper into paranoia after taking way too much powerful hallucinogens. I just was like, when is this over? It was way too long and incredibly dull. And, nice try, girls. It didn't do anything for me. That's about it in terms of new movies we're covering. The Lego Ninjago movie opens this weekend, and I didn't see it. I'm not real crazy about those movies. The first one, the Lego movie, I liked, but I just didn't have the time. I passed on this one. And then there was a horror film about the evils of social media called Friend Request. They didn't even screen. What are you watching? What are you doing? What do you got?
It's finally time that TV is coming back after its hiatus. And last night we got the first episode of Gotham, which is one of my favorite shows, and and it's better this year than it was last year. At least if they're off to a great start. So
Yeah, I never got on board. I found it way too over the top. Believe it or not.
It's not over the top. It's really terrific. It's the whole origin stories, and it's really I think it's terrific. I think it's terrific.
They're playing fast and loose with the Batman legend, but I do know it has its fans and its detractors. I'm in the latter. Yeah. Well, cool. That's about it. I guess.
Funny, I haven't heard any detractors. I mean, all the people I know who love comic books and so on love this show.
Yeah, not my particular group of folks, but you know what? I'm telling you. Anything that entertains the people is going to get attention and probably has longevity.
And the most popular show actually on Fox is perhaps the worst television show ever made.
The Orville, right?
Yes, right.
Boy, I tell you what, Seth MacFarlane makes me laugh on occasion. I do still watch American Dad, his animated show on TBS. But, man, he is no lead actor to keep things together. I just don't give a damn about him.
Yeah. So, otherwise, it's a terrible show. It really is.
It's a love of Star Trek that drove him to do it, but I just think it's weak.
Yeah. Anyway, that's it for this week. And tell them where they can find you, Michael.
I'm on Twitter at Culture Blaster and also on Facebook at Michael Snyder's Culture Blast page, and we'll be back next week, I hope.
Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Snyder. There's more GABNet coming right up, and I'm trying to figure out why my music isn't loud. Oh, there it is. It's wrong place.